Hey there YouTube, I'm Yukitsu, this is Yukitsu Times, welcome to my channel, welcome to more Rome 2 Total War. As you can see here, I've got something a little bit different. This one's going to be a post-commentary because I didn't think I'd be recording it when I jumped into it, but it's a match against Indypride, who is another YouTuber on Total War. He's a lot more famous than I am, so you probably know about him if you know about me, but he owns the channel Milk and Cookies Total War. He is one of those really excellent players. I think he got second place at the Scan Intel International tournament for this, and he usually is partnered along with Madness. I kind of mistook him for Indy Static or Josh Mattingly for a second there because I get their names confused all the time. Sorry about that, Indypride, but you know, it's one of those things that happens sometimes. Okay, so as you can see, I'm controlling a Pontic force here. It's a little bit unconventional, and he is controlling an Athenian force. So one of the things you'll note immediately about my army is that I don't have any melee cavalry, and my opponent here has taken 6 Hippeus Lancers, so theoretically it's one of those situations where my opponent's going to completely dominate the mobility battle here, but on the other hand, I've got a very firm pipeline. I've also got artillery, a lot of shooting, and I've got these mercenary Scythian horse archers who are going to sort of run circles around these Hippeus Lancers for much cheaper, get a lot of kills against them with those heavy arrows, and it's going to all in all be a fairly effective thing. Now, Indypride isn't at a disadvantage because he's using Athens, which I've said is a sort of weaker faction. He actually thinks they're one of his favorite factions, and he has a lot of fun with them. Now, I agree that they're actually quite good after the patches have sort of really increased the viability of these sort of hoplite troops, and you know, they're a lot of fun to play as, but I do still think that they're not quite as strong as some other factions. Now, what he has got all these Hippeus Lancers for is, as I said, you really need to use the Hippeus Lancers with these factions to get the actual kills. To try and counter that and negate that with my army setup, I have got lots of hoplites. I've got 4 units of hoplites of my own, and I've got plenty of these horse archers who are capable of causing some damage to them, and I'm actually using my artillery mostly to focus on these guys, and I end up killing about 110 of these Hippeus Lancers with my, well, actually no, because some of them was probably the hoplites, so I probably killed about 50 of them with my onager. So he actually retreated his cavalry back a little bit. He's running his units back and forth to minimize the amount of casualties he's going to take from my onagers, but I am still causing quite a bit of damage, and I'm also causing damage to these Thorax hoplites since I got some good side shots against them. They're actually losing men quite quickly. Now, some of his units of Hippeus Lancers are either going to be severely reduced hit point-wise, and some of them are also going to be actually just outright reduced numerically. And he's doing a smart thing here. He's moving to the side of my pike formation. He doesn't want to face it head-on. He doesn't want my units to really commit to a full front attack against his hoplite, since he will lose that. And what I'm doing to counter this is something a little bit unconventional, since I've got so much more missile troops than him, and I want to maximize that advantage as much as possible. Instead of having my Eastern Slingers, you know, retreat past my line, I try to entice him straight into my lines, of course, but obviously he's not going to do something like that. So what I'm going to do at this point is start feeding him my hoplite units sort of one at a time. And what this is going to do is it's going to let him kill or focus on one of the aspects of my army really quickly. But while they're fighting my hoplites, who are going to be able to hold out for a very long time against his hoplites, I'm going to be able to continue riding his Hippeus Lancers around in circles. I'm going to be able to defend my lines, my artillery, and my archers, or sorry, my slingers against cavalry counterattack, simply because he's not going to really have the means to cause a decisive breakthrough without his infantry tying up my infantry. In fact, what happens is that this one unit of hoplites ends up tying up 3 units of his hoplites, while I, you know, pound his troops with missiles. So he's going to take a lot more damage than I'm going to from this melee combat, even though he's going to instantly, basically, completely destroy these 2 hoplite units that are used to tie up his army. And that's going to give me a lot of opportunities to just sort of get really efficient trades, even though, you know, I can't do anything decisive at this point. At this point, I start reforming my lines of Bronze Shield pikemen to better, you know, prepare against a general engagement if he breaks through my hoplites and gets good kills. This hoplite unit of mine actually got hit by a rock from my own artillery, which is not good, but his mercenary veteran hoplites took some deaths too. Another rock goes in, causes some damage as well, so, you know, nothing too terrible going on here. I think that rock actually ended up hitting, you know, these guys over here or something like that. Yeah, it looks like it. So at this point in time, things are a little bit messy, and normally you don't really want that with phalanx troops, but you do want that when you're trying to feed them unit one at a time so that your missile troops can really do their magic here. And, you know, Roxers coming in, pounding these units of mercenary veteran hoplites, who are now getting hit with sling rocks from the rear, and he can't advance on my line to capitalize on that destruction of my units, because my units have then sort of moved into these pike formations. And I've staggered my pike formations. The reason for this is, again, so I can feed him units slowly, and so that I can maintain that shooting from these eastern slingers. And this lets me as well, if he tries to flank my units, I've got pikes behind my pikes, which lets me get the flanking unit in a pike front formation. Now over here, I've got a hoplite unit that managed to intercept some Hippeus Lancers here, and they're basically going to shatter two really weakened units, and then severely weaken this other stronger unit over here. This unit went from a 35, it's going to go down to about 20 something. This unit also gets clipped on the edge here, and is going to end up turning around. He's going to have to abandon the entire charge because of that. So as you can see, this unit badly battered. I lost my Eastern Onager, but it was out of ammunition anyway, so that's not really that important. Over here, my general has clipped 3 of his units, and they count as being in his front arc. This unit is actually going to turn around in time to get these 3 units in its front arc. This one actually got charged in the side, so that's not going to be in the best of positions. But at the same time, you know, my cavalry, archer cavalry, is shooting at the ground over here. Actually, they're shooting at some fleeing units, which is unfortunate. But you know, over here, what's happening is that he's got this unit of bronze shield pikemen. My bronze shields are faced the correct direction, so they're going to absorb that charge relatively well. And then I'm just pouring slinger fire into the back of these hoplite units. We're going to take a lot of missile damage. My general over here, since these hoplites were all balled up in front of my unit, technically, are going to start taking huge amounts of damage. I've already routed his general, and I'm just going to eventually plow through his mercenary veteran hoplites, who are all fairly tired. Over here, my archers are going to continue kiting around, but they're almost out of arrows, and I'm going to actually do something a little bit odd pretty soon. And it's not odd if you know that, you know, I'm out of arrows. What I end up doing is I end up just charging all of my guys into his Hippeus Lancers to try and clear off some of them if I can. Probably not the best idea, I probably could have saved them, but with the fight going as it is over here, I figured I could probably afford to do that, and here you can see me getting ready to do that right now. I should have driven them closer to these bronze shield pikemen. That probably would have been a better idea, but instead you can see I charged them right in there. Now, I do move one of my units away since it apparently had still got some arrows, but it was just on automatic kiting, as opposed to me intentionally doing that. These Hippeus Lancers, you know, they don't really take any damage from archers, unfortunately, but my pikes do manage to move in there and kill a couple of these guys. In fact, I reduced them down to 10, I believe, in the end there. Over here, my general has finished off 2 of those hoplite units. These units got jammed in between here and are going to both be killed. They're going to both actually shatter before they can get out of there. And this unit's going to move back and reinforce before he can attack these eastern slingers. So as you can see, I get into a position, I technically am facing these mercenary veteran hoplites, and I'm starting to move my units to try and encircle these other mercenary veteran hoplites, but I don't end up catching them. What I should have done is I should have brought these bronze shield pikemen to cover the retreat of these mercenary hoplites. And stretched out my hoplites as well, but I was worried about his cavalry, so I was trying to cover against them. These mercenary veteran hoplites are going to receive a volley of rocks and shatter. At the same time, I'm charging at these Hippeus Lancers. I was actually hoping to charge these Hippeus Lancers, tie them down to get the shots at them with my Eastern Slingers, but I accidentally let my guys fire at will, and they fired a volley off at these guys first. But, you know, in the end, that probably worked out just as well, since that ends up shattering these mercenary veteran hoplites over here. After that, you know, my unit does manage to turn and fire a volley off, and they do kill these Hippeus Lancers. So, you know, all's well that ends well, basically. On the other hand, I don't draw these guys back in the right direction at the right time, so what ends up happening is that my unit, these units end up getting a bit separated, and he takes out one of my units of slingers with his cavalry, which is really bad for me since I need those guys to sort of compel him forward. All 3 of the units are almost out of ammunition, however, so it's not all bad. At this point in time, we're looking at him with 3 units of hoplites. He's got thorax, 2 mercenary, and he's got 3 units of Hippeus Lancers. 2 of them really battered, 1 of them nearly full. Now the problem he's going to have is that I've got 3 units of bronze shield pikemen that are essentially at full strength, 3 units that are, you know, at near full strength, at like you know, just below 100, and really battered unit, but my general is also alive. So he's got a lot of troops that he has to chew through. So even if I'm not using a pike phalanx, I could potentially beat him, because bronze shields are not actually that weak a unit. Now, I throw off a volley of stones over here, it does nothing, so I end up switching my target over to these mercenary veteran hoplites. I should have been aiming at the thorax hoplites. They've got an experienced chevron, so their offensive capabilities are very similar, it's just that they're a lot tougher. So at this point in time, I'm just going to fast forward a little bit, since it's just me flinging stones for a little bit here. My slingers actually managed to rally, but then they immediately get destroyed again, so, you know, not much point for them. But at this point I've sort of boxed up since I just want to use my ammunition up. I throw some rocks at his mercenary veteran hoplites here and do a little bit of damage, but it's not a whole lot. So at this point in time I've you know, opted to start moving my army forward. I would like to be able to catch him in a general engagement. It doesn't matter to me too much if he catches me in the flank of one or two of my units, since, you know, if I move properly, I can reinforce along my flanks to, you know, counter-flank him. You know, but at this point it's a maneuverability thing. It's, you know, he wants to be able to hammer and anvil my units, and I'm just sort of moving my units around. I actually throw my slingers out there to try and catch his Paeus Lancers, but I didn't have my reinforcing unit quite in close enough, so I only end up reducing his Paeus Lancers down to 6, or 7, I guess. And I lose my hoplite unit here since I accidentally got them too overextended, and he's able to, you know, sweep in from behind with these Paeus Lancers. But on the other hand, I do a lot of damage to these mercenary veteran hoplites and to his thorax hoplites. He ends up with severely reduced numbers in all those units, except for, of course, this one over here, that one, you know, thorax hoplites. Now at this point, you know, he's got 3 extremely battered units of hoplites. And he's got, you know, the 1 unit of thorax hoplites that's relatively decent shape, but all 3 of my, you know, pike units that were pretty much full health are still pretty much full health. I've still got the one with 119, I've still got one with 99, I've still got one with 105, and I've still got one with 113, and my general's still alive. So at this point in time, it's just sort of a matter of me waiting until my troops are in a good enough position that I feel secure, and you know, at that point I'm going to charge forward at his units. And you know, I was kind of considering waiting for exhaustion, but then I realized that we're running out of time and I needed to defeat him quickly and decisively, so I start moving my units forward. I would rather get him at the front of my pikes, but I am willing, if he starts running around, to actually just move my units out of phalanx formation and just charge him outright, which would be fairly effective at this point in time. So his Paeus Lancers at the back, though, I do need to catch on my pikes, otherwise I'm kind of screwed. So I'm going to start moving forward here pretty shortly, if I recall. And all he can really do is hope that he can catch all my units on the flanks without losing any of his units to a frontal charge. So I start moving my units all forward here. And I'm just keeping an eye on my back for Paeus Lancers to come around, because I do know that that's coming. The way I'm sort of spreading my forces out, what I want is to have, like, you know, units set up in... so that he's going to end up front charging at least some of my pikes, and that, you know, whatever is, you know, left over, what hasn't been flanked, well, whichever of my pike units are engaged from the front, if he tries to flank charge them, I can simply charge his units in the flank as well. So here what happens is I end up in a really weird engagement here, but I count as actually having him in my front arc here. Like that, and so my unit ends up facing it off against these thorax hoplites, and my unit counts as having him in my front arc, despite the fact it didn't look like it. And that's just something you can sort of do, is move your pike units at a side angle while they're moving along. He does move his units along predictably to flank, but that gives me the ability to sort of move my units to reinforce along my flank here. And as you can see, my general manages to get, you know, relatively into the mercenary veteran hoplites here, cause some good casualties. He gets this mercenary veteran hoplite unit and his Paeus Lancers into the side of my general. I hit brace in my general's abilities that my general is just going to do perfectly fine even without that. He got his major Paeus Lancer unit broken up against this unit of Bronze Shield pikemen who were facing the correct direction, and without that back charge against my forces, you know, this unit is going to go completely off just because of all the reinforcing troops that are rushing in to help. This unit is going to break just because his army's breaking and because my general's doing a decent enough job, and at this point it's GG. So that is my game against Indypride. It was a very close, very fun match. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and you know, I hope to see him again on the ladder. It was a really good match. Anyway, I hope you found this enjoyable. I know I did. Go check out Indypride's channel, Milk and Cookies Total War, Indypride and Madness, and as always, I hope to see you all next time.